Good evening. I am here once again reporting a short topic entitled Action Research. What is action research? Action research is a philosophy and methodology of research generally applied in the social sciences. It seeks transformative change through the simultaneous process of taking action and doing research, which are linked together by critical reflection. We have four stages of conducting alternative action research. First, we have the planning stage, an improvement of practice. Then, action stage, an act to implement the plan. Then, developing stage, to monitor and evaluate the action effects. And the fourth one is the reflecting stage, the outcome of the action. Planning stage consists of identifying the topic, gathering information, reviewing related literature, developing a research plan. And we have the acting stage. It is the collecting data and analyzing data. We have developing stage, which developing an action plan. And the last is the reflecting stage, which is sharing and communicating results, reflecting on the process. We have 9 steps in conducting an action research study. First, identifying and limiting the topic. The first step in any research study is deciding exactly what to study. Since personal and professional experiences are so central to teacher-initiated and action research, possible topics for investigation might be anything about which you are curious, that piques your interest, or that intrigues you in any way. This goal must be kept in mind when initially identifying and later narrowing the focus of the topic. Then we have the second example. The two teachers meet on a couple of occasions over the summer in order to identify the specific topic, the hope to address through the examination and trial of this alternative instructional approach. They determine that they believe that their students struggle most in making connections between unrelated and historical events. The departure chair argues that perhaps this approach will have to positive impact on how well they are able to make this type of connection. Then we have gathering information. After identifying and limiting the topic, the next step is preliminary information gathering, a process that Mills refers to reconnaissance. Information gathering can be a simple talking with other teachers, counselors, or administrators in your school or district in order to gauge their perception of your proposal research problem and perhaps to query them for ideas. Then we have example. The teacher decide to talk with the other social studies teachers. They want to know other teachers think about their assumption that students struggle with making connections between historical events which occurred perhaps decades apart. They ask for the others for their internal perceptions about the backward approach to teaching their content. Then you have number 3, reviewing the related literature. Related literature can be loosely defined as any existing source of information that can shed light on the topic selecting for investigation. This related information can provide guidance for defining or limiting the problem, for developing appropriate research design, or for selecting legitimate instruments or techniques for collecting data. Then we have another example. Then we have the example. The teachers then decide to collect more formal information that based on research. In addition to what they had already obtained from the other teacher of history about the effectiveness of backward approaches to teaching historical, chronological events. How other teachers may have implemented this type of instruction and any problem they may have encountered. They decide to split the task, with the department chair identifying and reviewing published research studies on the topic and other teacher contacting history teachers, their professional organization. The number 4, developing a research plan. In a traditional educational research study, development of a research design and plan for collecting data is known as the research methodology. Inherent in designing an action, research study are several specific decisions that must be made during this step in the action research process. Example: following the review of the published literature, decisions with teachers from other school and district that implement this type of instruction. The teachers found enough evidence to support the focus of their proposed study, although they are also found some contradictory evidence. Then we have the number 5, implementing the plan and collecting data. The next step in the process of conducting action research is to the determination of the specific data to be collected and how to play them actually collect them. In other words, decision must be made about instrument or other data collection techniques that will be used in the study. Example: throughout the school year, the 2 history teachers designed performance-based assessments, which examine the extent to which students were able to connect historical events. In addition, students will take an American History Achievement Test in the spring, a portion of which focuses on the critical thinking skills as they apply to historical events. Number 6, analyzing the data. Analysis of data occurs primarily at 2 points during the process of a research study. In traditional quantitative research studies, data analysis occurs following the completion of all data collection. In traditional qualitative research studies, data may typically begins during data collection, continues throughout the remainder of the process of collecting data, and is completed. Example: immediately following the end of the school year, data analysis is undertaken. Test scores resulting from the administration of the standardized achievements test are statistically compared for the 2 groups. We have the backward group versus frontward group. It is determined that the scores of the students who were choosing using the backward instructional approach are significantly higher than those of the students taught in the more traditional manner. The number 7, developing an action plan. Once the data have been analyzed and the results of the analysis interpreted, the next step in the action research process is the development of an action plan. This is really the ultimate goal of any research action study. The action plan is essentially a proposed strategy for implementing the results of your action research project. Example: with their findings in hand, the teachers decided to approach their principal and district curriculum coordinator about revising the American history curriculum in order to capitalize on the apparent effectiveness of the backward instructional approach. They agree that it will be imperative to continue study the effectiveness of this approach in subsequent academic years. Similar findings in the coming years would provide a much stronger case for permanently changing the approach to teaching American history. Then we have number 8, sharing and communicating the results. An important of any research study is the reporting or sharing of results with others in the educational community at large. Action research should be named differently, simply because you have undertaken this project in order to help you solve a problem that is more local and perhaps more personal in nature. Does not mean that no one else will be interested in the result that you have obtained. Example: the principal curriculum coordinator are quite impressed with the result of his action research study. They suggest to the department chair that the two teachers make a presentation to the school board and the entire school faculty at a regularly scheduled meeting at the beginning of the next school year. A teacher attending the board meeting later suggests that the study might make an interesting contribution at an annual statewide conference or instructional innovations and best practice held each fall. The number 9, reflecting on the process. Action research about critical examination of one's own practice. In order for someone to critically examine her or his practice, that result must engage in systematic reflection for practice. Reflection is something that must be done at the end of a particular action cycle. It is a crucial step in the process since this is where the teacher researcher reviews what has been done and determine if its effectiveness and decision about the possible revision of future implementation of the project. Example: over the summer, the two teachers meet in order to debrief and decide on any adjustment to the process that might be beneficial for next year. They consider the several questions including: how will the process work? Are we sure that the data we collected were the most appropriate in order to answer our research question? So, before I will end my report, let me leave you an inspiring quote. Action is the foundational key to all success, by Pablo Picasso. That's all of my report. Thank you and good night.